Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, July 10th from the San Antonio Express News. My name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. Today, you can expect mostly sunny skies and a high of 102. You can expect more of the same over the weekend, with highs that could hit San Antonio's all-time July record of 106. A socially distant drive-thru NIOSA in November is one of several ideas being discussed after the Conservation Society of San Antonio, which puts on the event, hired epidemiologist Charisse Rohr-Allegrini to help make the Fiesta showcase as safe as possible for visitors and volunteers. Of course, that's if Fiesta happens as planned later this year. Mayor Ron Nirenberg said during the Wednesday City Council briefing on the coronavirus that he could have an announcement on Fiesta by the end of the week. If an announcement is made, we'll have it on our coronavirus timeline page, which is updated regularly and you can find in this episode's description. Also, keep an eye out today for the latest entry of our 52 Weeks of Pizza series, which involves a treasure hunt to the southwest side. And now we'll move on to the top headlines for the day. You can find links to all these stories in the episode's description. With temperatures forecast to exceed 100 degrees and no rain in sight, once-a-week outdoor watering restrictions are returning to San Antonio as the city heads into the weekend. Aside from a wet May, rain has been scarce in San Antonio this year. July has seen just a trace of rain so far, and June had under an inch, according to official measurements of the National Weather Service. There's no rain expected in the next week's forecast. For SAWS customers in and around San Antonio, the utilities Stage 1 rules, which limit lawn watering with sprinklers to 1 day a week, took effect under local city ordinance Thursday afternoon. Scott Huddleston has details on what the restrictions mean for you. In late May, the pandemic that was raging in the outside world had little effect on Comal County's long-term care facilities. The county had 134 cases on June 9th. Following Governor Greg Abbott's orders, medical personnel had tested 1,435 residents and staff members at the county's 6 nursing homes, and only one person, an outside medical practitioner, turned up positive for the deadly novel coronavirus. But now, the disease has returned with a vengeance that has made Texas the new national epicenter of the medical crisis, and it had breached what had once been considered safe sanctuary in the New Braunfels area. Comal County now has 1,142 cases. Mark Dunphy explores the consequences of that change. While doctors and nurses rightfully have been lauded as heroes for their frontline work during the virus pandemic, personal caregivers, also called home health aides, would seem to comprise a whole other legion of heroes, ones who have remained largely unsung. After all, they've toiled all but invisibly in the face of COVID-19, helping clients stay out of assisted living centers, places where the virus can spread more readily. 18-year-old Hannah Pearson is not your typical personal caregiver, and not just because of her age, because almost a third of such workers are in their 50s. It's how she became to be one in the first place. Melissa Fletcher-Stolce tells her story in this week's edition of Making a Difference. 3 weeks ago, Roland Gutierrez and Rebecca Clay Flores met at the Bexar County Precinct 1 satellite office for an announcement, unveiling what he called the PACT, Political Anti-Corruption and Transparency Act. But political alliances are as much the product of shared enemies as shared goals, and Gutierrez and Clay Flores certainly share an adversary, the Rodriguez family, which has been a dominant force on the South Side for more than 30 years. Columnist Gilbert Garcia explains why it's tempting to look at 3 of the big Democratic runoff races in Bexar County as a single Southside contest between pro- and anti-Rodriguez slates. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the U.S. You can find a link to those interactive graphics in the episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. The number of newly reported coronavirus infections in Bexar County grew Thursday by 954, with 6 more deaths. Statewide in the last 7 days, 393 people have died from the virus, equivalent to 56 people a day over that stretch. More than $130 million in funding for critical health programs could be cut under a plan requested by Republican state leaders in response to the economic fallout from the pandemic and recent drop in oil revenue. As Texas became one of the worst affected states in the pandemic, Republican Governor Greg Abbott's approval ratings for his response sank to 44%, fifth lowest in the country among governors, a new poll shows. Governor Greg Abbott on Thursday postponed elective surgeries in more than 100 new counties, an effort to free up hospital beds as Texas coronavirus pandemic spirals further out of control. President Donald Trump is scheduled to make his 16th stop in Texas since he took office. By visiting Odessa for a $100,000 per person fundraiser, he'll be visiting one of the regions of the state hit hardest by the recent surge in COVID-19 cases. A protest for justice for the Black community was singularly focused on voting Thursday as a new San Antonio group, the Reliable Revolutionaries, held a candidates forum and voter registration drive at the Eastside's George Gervin Technology Center. Castle Hills Elementary School, the only traditional public school in Bexar County with a year-round calendar, will still begin its year July 21st, but will teach entirely online for up to the first 3 weeks. As job losses continue piling up in Bexar County and across Texas, local leaders are working to roll out large-scale job training initiatives to qualify workers for jobs in higher-wage industries. Keep moving, Leo Rose liked to say, and the original Spurs investor practiced what he preached. As his stepson Steve Levin put it Thursday, the day after Rose died at the age of 99, his enjoyment of sports was pure and simple and not necessarily rooted in competitiveness. The Express News editorial board writes, quote, "Chaos and crisis would disrupt our democracy if the vote of the electors didn't routinely mirror that of the voters of their respective states." End quote. This week, a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court affirmed the Electoral College's right to punish presidential electors who defect from their state's choice. The hallmark of COVID-19 is respiratory symptoms, but doctors now know that the disease can cause wide-ranging problems throughout the body. Researchers are still parsing the biological underpinnings of COVID-19. Dr. Bulos Tusarkeesian, a vascular surgeon and endovascular specialist, explained several theories about how and why the disease affects the blood vessels in his Q&A with Lauren Karuba. And now, the fun stuff. Comfort food isn't always comforting, at least not to everybody. But Mike Sutter never thought pancakes were up for debate. At least not until Chuck Blunt weighed in on Facebook with this declaration, quote, "Hot food take, pancakes suck." Dismayed after seeing that some agreed with Blunt, Sutter writes, "Right now I want hot cakes, not hot takes. Here are 5 places in San Antonio where Chuck Blunt can eat his words and I could eat my feelings." Country star Blake Shelton announced that he will pre-record a concert for an exclusive one-night-only experience on the screens of select driving theaters across the United States, including one in New Braunfels. In gardening news this week, purple martins are about to leave, meaning butterflies can breathe a little easier. Calvin Finch explains why in his latest article, while Neil Sperry addresses peach tree borers and other readers' gardening issues in his Down-to-Earth column. Andy Samberg finds romance in Hulu's Palm Springs, a film that will remind viewers of Groundhog Day. Cuco's Barbacoa, a new San Antonio restaurant that is focusing on delivering barbacoa to customers' doorstep, is now accepting online orders for its first weekend of business. That's all for today. This was your Express Briefing. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast in your Apple Podcasts app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.